everyone. Okay, so I have a face mask up still over the cover. It says mermaid in training. It looks like I have underwear over the thing, but I just wanted you to know it's still a face mask. That's fundamentally because you know who hates face masks. So I like to send a message whenever I can. So I'm going to get into something that is ridiculous. Okay? I had multiple sources explain this to me, and it's really sad. And I have held back in putting this all together for everybody. I think that you guys can figure it out, but here it goes. Okay. So, nobody would marry or pair off with LBL 42863, despite the best efforts of both families. She was just that insolent brat that just didn't fare well. Nobody really wanted to set her up. So anyway, as she kind of said, on the cruises, her grandma and grandpa would be there, and she would sit there and look at all the waiters and say, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, because she thinks she's a man-eater. And yes, maybe technically, since she's saying what she orally did to other people's husbands when their wives went to bed, and she was the barfloozy. So, as it would become, you all know that she met Gungor, who's from Turkey, on one of the cruises. And Gungor was tired of being at sea. Okay? Not that he was in the military, not like that, but on the cruise ships, you can only do it for so long. Okay? He wanted to become an American. He came from a traditional Turkish family, didn't have it bad, didn't have it good, but it has been my experience that Turkish families are very patriarchal in that they are ran by the man in the family, and it's been my experience that the man will not even change their own baby's diapers. Okay? I'm not saying that's true for all Turkish families, but from the Turkish families that I have been friends with over the years, they don't take, the fathers don't take as active as a role in parenting as American men are now. You know, as things have switched and there's single dads and there's, you know, moms that need to work and dads that are there and participate, and, you know, the Turkish family unit is just not there yet. Okay? So he didn't want to have a baby with Lori. He didn't want to continue to be married to Lori. He wanted citizenship. He fell for the little gig, and he just basically thought it'd be, you know, he'll be with her for as long as he has to. If you are watching 90 Day Fiance, think Danielle and Mohammed. Okay, this is a Danielle and Mohammed, except for it's LBL and Gungur, okay? Now, there was no passion, there was no love. This was she could go and act like she got some young, hot piece of meat, and he could get citizenship. Okay? He wanted to get rid of her. He did not want to stay married to her, but he also didn't want to be homeless. And she held everything over his head. That if he tried to leave her, she would have him deported, blah, 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 blah. And her goal was to get pregnant to lock him down. And she ultimately did. Now, when she had a baby, I mean, the pregnancy was a whole other story, okay? No pregnancy was as hard as, no morning sickness is as terrible. Just the typical her, you know, and she had to have a cesarean section. I mean, she's got those baby-making hips and that ass. It looks like she would just have to bend over and a whole entire child would just, like, come out on a bike or a skateboard, I say. Anyway, she had to have a cesarean section because it was just too hard for her to be in labor. You know, and Carol was there to take the baby, and so she could recover from her cesarean section. She loves having surgery so she can get the drugs. Don't come for me about people having cesarean sections. Don't come for me. Okay, cesarean sections save lives. But there are people like her who are not as cooperative as they could be and force a situation that doesn't necessarily need to be. Okay? So, she wanted to be the helpless cesarean section victim and have somebody else take care of the baby, and Carol could only do so much. And as I stated, Gungur just doesn't have that in his family, in his experience, in his makeup. You know, it's that, oh, okay, there's a baby and it's mine, it's my son, but in that same vein, he would want that to be his Muslim son. Okay? And she's saying, no, he is born Jewish. Okay? So they had that rift going on. They had the rules of parenting that weren't working because she is lazy, and he wanted her to be the mother. And this is where Carol got to be a mom all over again. For all intents and purposes, Burke was Carol's. Because Lori then tried to do everything and fought nonstop with Gungur, and would say things like if he leaves her, he'll never see his son again. If he leaves her, she'll get him deported. He'll never see his son again. Okay? He didn't want that. Although he isn't going to be the kind of father who's going to change diapers and whatnot, that's still his son. And as a very patriarchal culture, a son to a Turkish man, to a Turkish Muslim man, his son is everything to him. Okay? So he loved his son and he wanted to stay for his son. But as we can see, you can't even support her on her YouTubes because of how awful she is. So he stayed as long as he could, and it was nonstop, her threatening this, her threatening to call immigration on him, blah, 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 threatening that he would never see, Burke again, and that she would come after him for child support, and, just any threat. If there was any fight at all, she put all that on him. His citizenship, his livelihood, his freedom, him being able to bring his son to Turkey to show his family. All of that would be in jeopardy if he did not do what she said. So he began to retreat and withdrawal, and she becomes more loud, as we know she does, and starts being more obnoxious with the going out and getting drunk and doing all of that, and ultimately he left. He was done. Okay? Oh, just like how when Mommy just left her in California, you don't leave her. You don't abandon her. Okay? She doesn't do well with that. Okay? So she tried everything she could to make him come back, and when he wouldn't, she pulled the opposite. She said, "You're not ever going to see him. You won't see him." And that was his greatest fear, but then he had to say, "Fine, I won't see him." And that is when the time period where Burke did not see his father. That was not Gungor's choice, and it broke Gungor's heart. He wanted to see his son, but he did not want to deal with her. Okay? He saw through all of her manipulations. He saw through all of her lies. He didn't want to be a part of her lying, scamming, disgusting, thieving ways. He had morals, and he wanted his son to be raised with morals and wisdom and character, and there was no way to co-parent with her. So she raged and would not let him see his own son. She told everybody that she was in danger because Gungor was going to kidnap Burke and take him to Turkey, and she'd never see him again. So therefore she couldn't allow him visitation. That's not true. He would not have taken the child from the mother. He would not and could not have taken Burke out of the country. She got everything because she then went on full welfare. Food stamps, everything, where she gets the child support. Gungor was not able to get a high-paying job, but he still had gainful employment, and so the judge imputed the $77, which he could pay. But then when she goes to talk about it, she's like, "Oh, he only contributed $77. No. That means that she had full SSI, got SSI for Burke because she pretended like he had a behavior disorder, had full food stamps, got on Section 8, and then had the child support from the state for Burke with the SSI. And yes, then Gungor needed to contribute a court-ordered $77 back, and that goes straight to the state. The state will pay to make sure the child is cared for in those situations, and then the state imputes that. So that was done by a judge. That was not Gungor saying, "Hey, I have $77, all I can give you." No. And of course, her daycare was subsidized because, of course, she can't ever work now, but when she was forced to take care of a child, then of course she would want to have a job. But it wasn't like the daycare was when she was actually working because she was actually drinking. But she found a way to sue the Y, which was state-paid daycare, which then she said was his college fund that she saved from her real estate. She was a real good realtor, you know, real hot shot. Yeah. Sure. Wolf of Wall Street. And the interviews. So anyway, she told everybody that, "Oh, yeah, poor Burke, you know, he has this terrible father who doesn't even want to have anything to do with him." Kind of sounds familiar, right? About how she was like, "Oh, yes, my mother left this thing on the counter for me to see that it says the father does not want to pay for the child," about her. So she then did the second generational trauma in her difficulties with her father, her daddy not giving her the money that she wanted because she doesn't want anything from anybody except for money. And then turned that into, because Gungur would not obey, okay? She did that. Now, when that lie started being proven wrong, she went to the next level of parental alienation. This is a trigger warning. If you don't want to listen to the next minute or two, I am going to talk about false accusations. So walk away from me for right now and give me 2 minutes. Basically, she falsely accused him of orally, okay, get it, Burke. Said she walked in and he was orally, okay, can't say it. She went on to say that that's just the way that Gungur was, is that him and his own sister had done those things. So she said she walked in and found Gungur doing that to Burke. Okay. Trigger warning over. So anyway, it didn't happen. But that's what she then started telling people. So she basically is the poster child for parental alienation, for playing the victim, playing the martyr, ruining a little boy's childhood because she doesn't think hers was good enough. And for all that I am or I'm not, I can say that I gave my children a much better childhood than I had. And I know that their lives are better because of it. And that if I did anything right in this world, I gave my children the best daddy they could ever have. And I am divorced, and I can say that about my ex-husband. I can say that because adults don't have to get along, but adults need to be adults. And if at all possible, they need to step back and let the children have a childhood. Now, because she's an infantile idiot, she did that. So now, given all of that information, and when she sits there and tries to now talk about how she gets together with Gungur, took care of Gungur after his surgery, and then gets on Gungur about how he doesn't spend time with Burke. Yeah, well, given that information, would you want him to? If the things that you accused him of were true, would you want him to be around your son? Is that kind of weird? So, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to take apart a video. It's going to show all of the moving pieces of these accusations and how they are so easily proven wrong, and how wrong it is that she did that. I think it's funny how last Thanksgiving she was acting like she had something up her sleeve with her big armpit pussies up her sleeve, and she was trying to entice Gungur into spending Thanksgiving with them. And it turned out Gungur smelled her plan smelled her deceit several states away, and said, no, I'm not coming. And so then she sat there in her ambient state and went off and read the texts back and forth between her, Burke, Gungor. And it's so funny to see how she was telling on herself and how Gungor saw through her plan. That she was acting like, oh, I just want you to come over and spend Thanksgiving with us, just to have a good old-fashioned Thanksgiving together as a family. And he's like, yeah, I don't think so. And she's like, you were going to come so I could trick you into co-signing for Burke's college, and I would actually be the one paying, but you just have to be the one that signs for it. And he's like, yeah, no, not signing any financial documents, not doing it. Well, she had Burke all in on this plan to deceive Gungor. And Gungor found out that Burke was in on it to deceive him, and he said, this is disgusting. That you've raised Burke to be you. That you two are in on some plan, and you tried to exploit me under the guise of having a family holiday. Now, take that and say, how does it make sense that she would want Gungor to spend a Thanksgiving with them if she had indeed walked in on him doing the things that she said she saw him doing to Burke? I wouldn't be breaking the wishbone on a turkey with someone who did that to my kid, I want to tell you that. So it's just funny. Gungor calls her out, calls her on every step, calls her, says what a manipulative, exploitive, deceptive imbecile she is, and how she's, made Burke behave in the same way. I'm not saying Burke is that way. I'm saying that he chooses to behave that way at times. And that's why it's going to be important for him to grow up and define himself. And he does not need money for college from her. He can get his own loans. He is an adult. There are several people in his position right now that can and do have loans, and I didn't have anybody pay for my college. Nah, no cosigner, no nothing. Didn't receive a penny from anybody in my lineage. Okay? I have a bachelor's degree or so. So, she couldn't stand that she was outsmarted. So then she starts playing Gungor, saying, oh, I know he's such a difficult child. So then he's like, you raised him to do this. So then she'll get mad at him. One of the hallmarks of narcissistic personality disorder is the way in which they triangulate. They love to do 2 against 1 at all times. So that's why she'll try to pair Gungor against Burke, try to pair Burke against Gungor, try to get her and Burke against Carol and her against Burke, Carol and her against Gungor. You get it? Always that. Okay? That's why she's always trying to glob onto a neighbor or a best friend so she can go and talk about people and pathologize them, and so she can look like the good guy and she's a victim of all these trolls. Nah, you're just getting called out for your scams, you big old scammer. So, I feel sorry for Gungor. I think that he had the American dream. for some reason, something about him did not make him marketable to a nice domesticated lady. Instead, he got a wild boar, doesn't cook, doesn't clean, doesn't child rear, doesn't have the mothering instinct. Just kind of a, well, just kind of a, I don't know, just something. And I don't know, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with him, but maybe he's got an odor or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe he snacks on mothballs and smells like mothballs from his nose and mouth. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know why he couldn't, because even after he's not been with her, he doesn't have a woman. But would any woman be with a man after they'd been with her? I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, and I think it's very sad. The one story, she says that when Burke went to go and visit his father, he yelled out that he is Jewish. You know, Burke yelled out, "I'm Jewish," and Gungor said, "You're Muslim," and he said, "I am Jewish," and apparently Gungor told him to get out of the car and walk home. It doesn't sound like any child who finally had time to be with his father would choose to celebrate it in that way naturally. I think that a child who was set up to say that and be prepared for, if their father said something, for him to say that. But those are the games that LBL 42863 plays, and the games that nobody wins. You don't win when you pit your kid against your estranged spouse. Nobody wins. So that's my food for thought on this Sunday afternoon. This hot, fiery Sunday afternoon. Food for thought. I hope you're well, and I hope that I didn't make this too confusing. I had a few different people telling me the stories, and I did my best to kind of splice them together. And like I say, I'm gonna go ahead and take apart a video that's gonna be very interesting. So we shall name this the prequel. Well, no, because she's already done parental alienation. So I gotta think on this. I gotta think about what I'm gonna call this. If you have suggestions and you think I should change it from what I ended up putting it, put it in there. Again, I'm not the one deleting your comments. I'm having them reported from the loyal LBL 42863 army. They are the unsullied. Yeah, that's an army. Okay. Thanks for the love and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.